My name is Evan. I'm 42, and for 8 years I believed I was building a family. I believed in it like a man believes in the rising sun. Slow, steady, inevitable. And like the sun, I was wrong to think it would never set. When I met Lauren, she was a single mother in the Atlanta suburbs. 2 kids, a tired smile, eyes that had seen abandonment and built walls around the wreckage. Trevor was 10. Macy was 8. Their father, Nick, had disappeared into that familiar mail fog. Occasional birthday texts, Instagram likes from 3 states away, and then nothing but echo. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. The absence spoke louder than any backstory. And I didn't enter their lives with promises. I didn't kneel with a ring and swear to replace anyone. I just showed up. Showed up at parent-teacher meetings. Showed up at late-night pharmacy runs when one of them had a fever. Showed up with extra hours on my paycheck, funneling the money into what I thought was a future. 2 years in, I adopted them. Quiet ceremony. No applause. Just paperwork and my signature on the line that said, Father. Felt like building a bridge in a storm, necessary, dangerous, and done with shaking hands. We moved out of the apartment with the paper-thin walls and into a house where the floors didn't groan under secrets. I found a neighborhood with good schools and old trees. I upgraded their phones, bought Macy a laptop when her old one crashed mid-semester. I was the man in the background, the invisible engine of their comfort. I paid for braces, for SAT tutors, for sports physicals and summer camps and club fees. Trevor needed a laptop for his AP classes? Done. Macy wanted private lessons for soccer? I made room. Over 8 years, I calculated the money spent. $347,000. Give or take. But what does it matter? No one tracks love with receipts. And still, I never asked to be called Dad. That word I knew had history attached. Blood. Wait, I didn't want to force it. I just wanted to earn it. And I thought I had. Until Nick returned. 3 years ago, he moved back to town like a ghost, returning with a smile and a wallet. Suddenly it was dinners at steakhouses, trips to Six Flags, new shoes every visit. Trevor started calling him Pops, like they'd never skipped a beat. Macy uploaded pictures with him captioned, "Finally back with the best." At first, I told myself it was novelty, that old wounds reopen sometimes when the air shifts, that maybe I was overreacting. Lauren said, "They're just adjusting. Give it time." But I could feel it, that slow, cruel unraveling. They had tasted the fantasy. Dad with no consequences, no rules, no past to reconcile, and I was becoming the obligation. Trevor stopped talking to me unless he needed something. Macy started referring to me as my mom's husband, in front of her friends, in front of strangers. Once, at a dinner with her coach, she said it with a small laugh. I watched the woman glance at me with pity. It was death by 1,000 social cuts. And Lauren, God, Lauren. She didn't push back, didn't correct them, didn't say my name with urgency anymore. She just let it happen like a leak in the roof no one wants to fix. I kept telling myself to hold on. That fatherhood was more than validation. That silence didn't mean failure. Then one morning it broke. I was driving Macy to her soccer practice. Early light, a thin fog on the windshield. Her eyes on her phone, earbuds in, body half turned away from me like I was the driver and nothing more. She laughed at something on the screen. A meme, maybe. Then she looked up, smirked, and said it like it was just another punchline. "You're not my dad. You're just a rental. A rental. Not a person. Not even a step anything. Just something borrowed. Temporary." I didn't respond. I just stared ahead at the road, hands white-knuckled on the wheel. My breath turned heavy. I dropped her off, watched her jog to her teammates like the moment never happened. She didn't even look back. I drove home in silence. Didn't turn on the radio. Didn't call Lauren. I parked in the driveway and sat there until the engine cooled and my pulse did not. That night, I logged into the family cell plan and canceled her number. Removed my card from her Uber account. Then I opened a browser window and found a cabin. Appalachians. No Wi-Fi. No cell service. Just trees, mist, and air that didn't carry voices filled with venom. I booked it for the weekend. I didn't leave a note. Just packed a bag, told Lauren I needed time, and left. The air in that cabin felt heavier than silence. It didn't heal me, clarified me. I sat by the fireplace with a pen and a notebook and wrote down every cost. Not in dollars, but in days, in sacrifices, in early mornings where I packed lunches no one thanked me for, in weekends lost to recitals and games and emergency store runs, in arguments with Lauren about discipline that always ended in compromise, mine. I remembered the times I took PTO to drive Macy to therapy after she stopped speaking to her teachers. The promotion I turned down in Seattle because Trevor said he didn't want to move again. The thousands I spent on braces, laptops, gas money, vacations. I remembered carrying Trevor to the car after a football game injury. Blood on my shirt, panic in my bones. I remembered Macy asking me at 8 years old if I could braid her hair. And I remembered the way she said it that morning. Just a rental. Like I was a chair you don't like but keep around because it's there. When I came home from the mountains, I didn't scream. I didn't rage. I was calm in a way that scared even me. I watched. Quietly. I watched Trevor talk to Nick for 45 minutes while I was fixing the Wi-Fi again. I watched Macy laugh at texts while I emptied the dishwasher. I watched Lauren look at me like a man she didn't recognize anymore. And maybe she didn't, because something in me had shifted. Not broken. Solidified. They hadn't just rejected me. They had disowned the very foundation they stood on. And for the first time in 8 years, I stopped trying to hold it all together. I just let it go. It happened the night I returned from the cabin. I had expected some questions. A little worry. Maybe even a confrontation. But no one said anything. No, are you okay? No, where did you go? Just dinner plates scraped clean and put in the sink like I hadn't vanished for 3 days. Like my absence was as ordinary as my presence. Trevor asked if the Wi-Fi was still acting up. Macy needed a ride to soccer. Lauren just said, "You look tired." And I was, but not in the way they thought. Something had calcified inside me. The quiet in that mountain cabin had stripped me of illusion. No notifications. No cries for attention. No family meetings or cold shoulders. Just the sound of wind through trees and the fire crackling like it had something to say. When I came home, I was no longer the man who fought to be enough. I was the man who finally heard what had been whispered in silence for years. You're not needed here. So I decided to become legally unnecessary. Sunday night, we sat at the dinner table. Lauren had made pasta. Trevor was scrolling his phone. Macy was humming to herself. They hadn't even waited for me to sit before they started eating. I picked up my fork. Trevor didn't look up when he said it. "You should apologize to Nick for trying to replace him." The words didn't come out with anger. No venom. Just cold, clean clarity. Like a verdict. Macy chimed in as if on cue. "He's our real dad." Lauren sipped her wine, didn't meet my eyes. "They're just expressing themselves. Maybe you've tried too hard." I set the fork down. My hand was steady. My voice was even. "You're right," I said. "I'll fix that immediately." The next morning, I went to the county clerk's office. Filed the paperwork to revoke the adoptions. Georgia law allows reversal if all parties agree and the children are minors. Macy was still 17. Trevor had just turned 18, which made it even easier. He could remove me from legal guardianship with a single signature. I didn't ask them. I didn't explain. I simply erased myself. Next, I removed them from my insurance. Health, dental, vision. All of it. Gone. I contacted the school district and updated my records. I was no longer an emergency contact. I withdrew the FAFSA information linked to my tax returns. I canceled Trevor's tuition payments. I emailed the college financial office and notified them that he no longer had a sponsor. I stopped the auto pay, canceled the meal plan, deleted my account. Macy's SAT tutor? Gone. Her private soccer league? Canceled. Her car insurance? Removed. I cut the cord, every cord. Then I opened a spreadsheet. Took me 2 hours to compile it. 8 years of expenses. Line items. Bank statements. Credit card receipts. Every camp fee, every copay, Every piece of sports equipment. I totaled it up. $347,221. 93. I printed 3 copies. I put one on the kitchen table. The second I mailed to Lauren's sister, where she sometimes hid from conflict. The third, I hand-delivered to Nick. He was working at a local warehouse nights mostly. I found him in the parking lot during his break, leaning against his car, vaping something cheap. "Nick," I said, handing him the envelope. "You're the dad again. Here's what that actually costs." He opened it, flipped through the pages. His eyes went wide, then glassy. "You serious?" I didn't answer. I just walked back to my truck. 2 weeks later, the dominoes began to fall. Trevor's tuition payment bounced. He didn't know it yet. I waited for the moment he'd discover it. He called me the following Friday. "What the hell, man? I just got an email saying the payment didn't go through." "Talk to your father," I said, then hung up. Macy's Uber account froze. Her Spotify premium vanished. She texted Lauren, "Why is all my stuff gone?" Lauren called me, furious. "What is going on?" "You said I tried too hard," I replied. "So I stopped." Trevor and Macy moved in with Nick. He had a 1-bedroom apartment and a pull-out couch. They brought duffel bags, left their things behind. Lauren tried to convince them to stay, but they insisted. "He understands us," they said. Nick worked night shifts, made $26,000 a year. No benefits. Trevor dropped out of college within 2 months. Couldn't afford the rent, the books, the late fees. He took a job at a burger joint. Macy had to transfer to a public high school across town. No soccer team, no friends. Just hallways lined with flickering lights and indifferent teachers. Lauren tried to hold the house, but I had moved my money into a separate account. I stopped paying the mortgage. She was 6 months behind before the bank called. She moved in with her sister. They had called me a rental. Now they were homeless. I stayed quiet. No gloating. No messages. Just silence. And in that silence, they learned what I had always known. You cannot spit on the man who builds the floor beneath you and then scream when it crumbles. The letters came first. Trevor wrote one. Handwritten. Ink smudged. Said he was sorry. Said he didn't mean it. Said Nick couldn't help. That he was trying, but nothing worked. I didn't respond. Macy emailed me. Said she missed our talks. Said she hated her new school. Said she just wanted to come home. There was no home anymore. Nick left a voicemail. Mumbled something about being overwhelmed. Said he didn't know it would be this hard. Lauren showed up at my office. Tired. Hair tied back. Eyes red. "You mattered to them," she said. "No," I said. "I mattered to you when it was convenient. To them, I was furniture." She reached across the desk. I didn't flinch. "We made mistakes." "No," I said again. "You made excuses. And now the lease is up." She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just left. 6 months passed. Then the final message came. It was a text from Trevor. "You were the real dad. Nick just made us. You raised us. I'm sorry." I read it. Then I deleted it. Some things don't deserve a second read. Some apologies rot the moment they're spoken. They called me a rental. Well, I returned myself to inventory. And there are no renewals. They came in waves, like people late to a funeral. Too late to matter, too loud for the silence they entered. It started with a text from Macy. Short, sweet, almost innocent. "Hey, just wanted to say I miss you." I didn't answer. She tried again a day later. "I'm sorry for what I said. You didn't deserve that." I left it unread. Trevor took a different route. He sent an email. Subject line in all caps, "I owe you everything." Inside was a 5-paragraph essay, the kind he used to write in high school when he needed a grade boost. Except this time, there were no points awarded. No red ink corrections. Just me, reading the words from a distance I had finally earned. He said Nick was overwhelmed, that the apartment was too small, that he and Macy argued every night, that Nick worked late and slept during the day and left them microwave meals and instructions taped to the fridge. He said he dropped out not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. He couldn't even afford community college now. Couldn't afford a gym membership. Couldn't afford gas. He said he was sorry. That he finally understood. That he never should have said what he did. That I was more of a dad than Nick ever tried to be. I read it twice. Once with pity. Once with clarity. Then I archived it. Not out of cruelty. But because it wasn't for me. It was for him. A confession without consequence. Lauren called a week later. Left a voicemail. Evan, please. You don't have to forgive. I thought we were a team. I thought they'd see it eventually. I never meant to let it get that far. I didn't call back. I let her voice dissolve into digital static and then erased it. They say silence is weakness. That when a man stops speaking, he's given up. No, silence is a boundary. And mine had been bulldozed for too long. They had used my silence to pretend I was okay with it all. With being sidelined. With being the ATM they didn't hug. With being the man who paid the bills but never made the Christmas card photo. So I made my silence mean something. 6 months. That's how long it took before Nick gave up. Trevor told me through a mutual acquaintance. Said Nick had moved in with some girlfriend in Alabama. Left them in the basement of his mom's house. Said he couldn't do it anymore. Too much stress. Too much whining. Said Trevor was 18 and Macy was almost 18 and they'd figure it out. Trevor got a second job at a gas station. Night shift. Macy stopped playing soccer. Transferred to a GED program. Lauren stayed with her sister. Her sister, who had once told me I was too strict. Funny how quickly opinions change when the safety net's removed. Lauren started waitressing. Long hours. Back pain. No insurance. Macy texted again. I just want to talk. Please. I don't even care about money. I just want you back in my life. I didn't respond. Because that's the thing no one tells you about being a stepfather. Your love is a service, not a right. You get the duty, not the title. The responsibility, not the reverence. You're the man who stays after the storm, who rebuilds what someone else abandoned, and still gets blamed when the roof leaks again. And when it all falls apart, you're just the guy who tried too hard. I got one last message. It was a letter, paper, stamped, handwritten, Trevor's handwriting. Inside, he said everything he should have said years ago. He said he remembered the time I taught him to drive. The time I stood in the rain for his football tryouts. The time I showed up to every parent-teacher conference. Even the one where he got suspended and I still defended him. He said he remembered the sound of the drill when we built his desk. The way I used to leave notes in his lunchbox when he was 12. How I stayed up to help him with algebra even though I hadn't used it since high school. He said he didn't know what he had until it was gone. He said he finally understood what a father really was. And that I was it. He ended with a question. Is there any way back? I sat with that letter for a full hour. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted to make sure I still meant it. And I did. I took the letter, folded it once, set it on my desk, and wrote nothing back. Because no, there wasn't a way back. Not to the man I was. Not to the family I built that turned me into scaffolding they couldn't wait to tear down once the structure stood. Not to the version of me that believed effort could replace blood when blood still held the passwords to love. They had told me who I was. I finally believed them. The man who wasn't real. The man who didn't matter. The man they could erase with a sentence. And now I erased them. Not out of rage. Out of balance. I rebuilt my life in Boise, Idaho. Simple town. Cold winters. Honest work. I work logistics. Quiet office. Coffee that tastes like cardboard. But no one rolls their eyes when I walk in. I rent a small condo with a fireplace and no guest rooms. No framed photos of children who never called me Dad. No lingering guilt soaked into the carpet. Just space. Just peace. I'm dating someone now. Her name is Abby. No kids. No ghosts. She thanks me when I make her coffee. Listens when I talk. Laughs like she means it. Sometimes she asks about my past. I tell her the edges. Never the whole. Because the whole thing sounds like fiction. A man gives 8 years of his life to someone else's dream, funds it, builds it, holds it together with silence and sweat. And when the real father shows up, he's discarded like packaging. A rental. That's what Macy called me. She said it with a smirk, like it was clever. But she was right. I was a rental, and I've been returned. Lease terminated. Property undamaged, but not unscarred. No deposit refunded. No follow-up survey. Just space where once there was weight. People ask me if I regret it, if I would do it all over again. The answer? I don't know, because love, even when it fails, feels holy in the moment. But silence? Silence feels sacred now. And in that silence, I finally found myself. Not a father, not a husband, just a man who gave everything, and learned the cost of giving to people who never asked what it cost. So I ask you, when does a father stop being a father? When the court says so? When the house is empty? Or when the children say, with laughter in their voice, that he was never one to begin with? They told me I was a rental. Now they can live with the return policy. And I live with peace. Boise, that's where I landed. A city far enough from Atlanta to lose the echo of old voices, but small enough that silence feels earned, not forced. The air's colder here, cleaner. People walk slower, talk less. No one knows me. No one looks at me like they're waiting for me to prove I belong. I don't belong to anyone anymore. And for the first time in years, that feels like freedom, not failure. I rent a condo on the edge of town. 2 bedrooms, but one's just an office now. No children's clothes folded in drawers. No forgotten toys under the bed. Just quiet. Predictable quiet. I wake up before the sun. Drink coffee by the window. Watch the snow collect on the branches like it has nowhere else to be. And most mornings I remember, not all of it, not always the worst of it, just flashes. The sound of Macy's laughter through a bedroom wall. Trevor slamming the front door after a fight. Lauren's voice, too calm, saying just give it time, after every knife they slipped between my ribs. Sometimes I remember the good moments. Trevor falling asleep on the couch during movie nights. Macy crying after her first goal and me being the only one who stood to cheer. Lauren brushing her hand across my back when she thought I wasn't looking. But memories are like debt. You can't ignore the balance forever. Paid. In full. And now I collect the silence. My job is logistics. It suits me. Systems, structure, inputs and outputs. No emotions. Just freight. Just results. I manage the movement of things, not people. I track numbers, not moods. When something breaks, I fix it or I discard it. There's a comfort in that. People here don't ask questions. They think I'm divorced, maybe widowed, maybe just tired. I don't tell them. There's a woman, Abby. We met at a local bookstore. She was looking for a novel. I was looking for an excuse not to go home. She smiled at me. I didn't know what to do with that. She has no kids. She's never been married. She listens when I speak and doesn't fill the silence with apologies. She thanks me when I make dinner. She laughs at my dry humor. She doesn't ask about the past, not directly. When she looks at me, she doesn't see a failure. Just a man trying to remember how to be whole. Sometimes she stays over. Sometimes she doesn't. There's no pressure. No obligation. No expectation that I become something I've already failed to be. And in that space, open, unspoken, I've started to breathe again. But healing isn't linear, and ghosts don't stay buried. Every few months I get another message. Macy, usually late at night. I just want to talk. I was a kid. I didn't understand. You were the only real parent I had. I don't respond. Not because I'm angry, but because some bridges, once burned, illuminate too much to rebuild over. Trevor tried to call once. Blocked number. I picked up without knowing. He said my name. Just once. Quiet. I hung up. Because hearing him say Evan again, soft, hesitant, unsure, felt like being unzipped. Like all the years I spent holding the line might unravel if I listened 1 second too long. Lauren sent a letter. Old-fashioned. Handwritten. 2 pages. She said she made a mistake. That she chose neutrality when she should have chosen loyalty. That she didn't know how deep the damage had gone until she saw it reflected in Macy's eyes. She said she doesn't expect forgiveness. She just wanted me to know she remembers. I didn't write back. But I didn't burn it either. It sits in a drawer under my tax documents, beside the last photo of the 4 of us smiling. It was Christmas. Macy had just gotten her first phone. Trevor had a new skateboard. Lauren was wearing the scarf I bought her. The one she said she'd never wear because it was too bright. And I had wrapped every single gift, stayed up all night assembling Trevor's desk, checking battery packs, tying bows. I don't remember what I got that year. Probably a mug. Maybe a sweater. Doesn't matter. The photo lies. But I keep it anyway. Sometimes Abby finds me staring at it. She doesn't ask. Just places her hand on my shoulder and reminds me, softly, that love isn't measured by how much you give, but how much you lose before you finally say enough. I didn't lose a marriage. I lost belief in the idea that being good was enough, in the myth that love always returns, in the fantasy that effort can earn you family. Can't. Effort is currency in a market that only accepts blood and nostalgia. And when you offer your life in exchange, they laugh, take what they can, and remind you you're not real. Not their real dad. Not their family. Just their support system. Until it breaks. I don't cry anymore. I don't rage. I don't replay their words on loop like I used to. But I do remember. Not to punish myself, but to make peace with the man who stayed too long at a table where the chairs were pulled away long before the meal ended. And if you're reading this, if you've ever felt that kind of hollow, that quiet betrayal, that erosion of identity in the name of family, then hear this. You are not weak for leaving. You are not cruel for cutting the cord. You are not heartless for demanding the dignity they denied you. You are a man who bled and got blamed for the stain. You are a father even if no one ever called you that. You are real even if they pretended you were rented. And if they come back someday, if they knock on your door with regret hanging from their shoulders like winter coats too heavy to carry, remember, forgiveness is not the same as reunion. Peace is not a compromise. And silence is not absence. It's a boundary. And it is yours. So no, I'm not going back. Not to Atlanta. Not to that house. Not to that title. They stripped it from me. So I stripped them from my future. And in return, I got my name back. Evan. Not dad. Not stepdad. Not just the husband. Just Evan. And Evan? He's finally free.